So welcome folks, again it's Sunday morning here at Market, and I'm visiting with my friend Annie Omar of
Hi.
Dirty Annie's.
Hello.
And you all know, if you've been looking at the YouTube channel, that I've just recently had Dirty Annie's truck show, and I love taking people around and showing off her works. In my part of Florida, some of her designs resonate pretty well. Y'all ain't right, and some of those kind of things. And I've described her work as kind of sassy.
I'm a little sassy.
So, Annie, I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got into stitching. Who were the folks that got you interested in this kind of stuff?
Well, my parents were both artists, and I grew up in South Louisiana, and they had a little art gallery, and they specialized in Cajun art, so swamp scenes, old shacks, things like that.
Oh, wow.
And after school, the bus would drop me off there instead of home, so I pretty much lived there. And right next door was a cross-stitch shop that opened. So I was 10 years old, and I went next door, and I didn't know how to cross-stitch, but they were little kits, and I remember it was a sheep that I chose. And the lady checked me out. She didn't ask me any questions, and I went back and I read the instructions, and I thought, well, I can do this. And I got halfway through, and I had a big knotted mess. So I went back to her store, and I said, what do I do? And she helped me at that point to unknot it and get it right. And so I started cross-stitching when I was 10. Well,
that's great.
All through college, skipped to adulthood. I had 4 kids. I couldn't do it. I couldn't, especially with my youngest.
Sure.
Especially with my youngest. I couldn't take my eyes off of him. So when COVID hit, I could not work in the business that I owned. I had to shut it down, and I was stuck at home, and I thought, you know what, I would like to cross stitch again. So I got some things. I looked for a pattern that I liked, and I didn't really find what I was looking for, so I designed my own.
Good for you.
Yeah, and I posted it on Facebook, and my friends liked it, so then I designed another, and so took a chance 3 years ago. This is my 3rd market, and came to market with my charts, not knowing, because they're sassy, how they would be received. Yeah. And they were very well received. It turns out there are a lot of sassy gals out there, and guys, so here we are.
I'm finding the younger stitchers, particularly as they're coming along and discovering this craft, like some of the sassy stuff.
They do, and it's so nice to see younger people at it, and it's our job as designers to kind of draw those people in. The younger generation is looking for things to do with their hands. They're looking for the old ways of knitting and sewing and being crafty that kind of got lost for a little while.
I worked with a bunch of millennials a few years back, and I was sitting stitching one day, and a young woman walked by me and said, "Are you knitting?" And I thought, oh my, we failed this generation if they've never seen anybody doing these things.
Yeah.
And you think about it today, they probably don't. Very cool. Now, do you have art training? You're a designer, and I think that kind of scares, maybe there's people who would think they might like to design.
Anybody can design, anybody, and everybody's style is different. And even if you wanted to copy somebody's style, you wouldn't be able to. Everyone has their own unique style. Sure. I don't have art training per se, but my parents were both artists. So from a very young age, instead of Barbies, I had paints. Then they just let us play in the paint. So that was fantastic. And prior to this, I owned a paint manufacturing company. So I've always done something creative.
And color's important to you then?
I love all the colors.
Yeah, that makes sense. When I look at your designs, and I'll go in and take a little survey of what you've got in your shop at the end of things here, but when I think about your designs, the colors are what catch my attention. Now, the other thing that was really important about the trunk show, and I'm sure you've heard this feedback before, was all the wonderful ways your works were finished. So what do you have to say? Did you have somebody working on that? There were some great ideas, and I'm going to show people what I'm talking about here in a bit.
Well, because I I don't know how to properly finish cross stitch. I tried, you're supposed to lace up the back like a corset and all that.
Lacing is terrible. I can tell you.
I can't do it. And I know my kids are not going to keep these cross stitch charts and pass them down. I am under no illusion. I've seen too many of these things at the Goodwill to think that. So I'm okay with tape and glue. So I use a lot of tape and glue, and a lot of times the charts don't fit the frame that I have. So to counteract that, I just kind of reverse mat with fabric and goodies to make it beautiful all around. And it's super easy with hot glue or glue or tape. And I'm sorry, I know people are going, oh no.
No, actually, I do framing, Annie, and I hate lacing. If somebody asks me to do it, I beg them to do it themselves. Because it's really, and it's hard to get it even.
Yes.
As long as you use acid-free materials, you're okay.
I'm using that double-sided tape.
Yeah,
and,
you're preserving your stuff as well as you can. Don't put it on cardboard because that's full of acid. And just try to be aware of that. Don't use duct tape. That's the solution to everything. We don't want to go there. But I can tell you, there's some stitchers in my shop that have already taken that to heart, and she was bringing in different fabrics last week and kind of deciding what kind of background to use. So
I have some tutorials on my YouTube channel of how I do it with glue and tape. So go ahead and take a look at it.
Give them a little commercial. What's your YouTube channel?
I think it's just Dirty Annie's Cross Stitch.
Okay. Now, tell me about the name of your company.
Well, my name is Annie, and I named my company after my grandmother, Annie, who is a little spitfire thing. She's still alive. She's in her 90s.
Excellent.
She used to walk on her hands and do cartwheels and splits until about 4 years ago. She was climbing a fig tree to get the figs, and she fell and hurt her knee. So no more splits, but she is still running circles around me.
Wonderful. Yeah, I had an Aunt Annie. But I don't know if I figured this out or maybe I'm making it up. In the South, if you're talking about somebody you don't know very well, that's your aunt.
Huh.
But if you're actually putting a name behind it, it's Aunt Annie.
Aunt Annie. Yeah, that's what everybody calls her. We might be related. Is that my grandmother you're related to?
No. My Aunt Annie is long gone.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, I had a great-grandmother named Annie, too. So, okay.
It's a good name.
Inspiration. Where do you find ideas?
Just in my everyday life. My husband, I've done a lot of charts like Real Men Have Curves, the Merman Cove. My pets inspire me. My children inspire me. You have to, in life, just laugh at yourself, especially when things are going sideways. You just have to laugh and make a chart about it.
Well, I have to say my favorite is the possum.
I feed the possums.
Well, but I can see, and actually, I've actually seen it in my shop when I had the model there. People would look at it and go, "Oh, what a nice cat," and then take just a minute. And sometimes they just walk away. They didn't actually realize it was a possum. So that one makes me laugh.
And I feed them cat food. They eat cat food, and they come up to my back door, and I actually, you can put your fingers right in their mouth, and they'll hiss, but they will not bite. They truly play possum. So I have one that I paint his nails. His name is Terry. He's a boy, but on my website, on that chart, if you click on it, you can see his little red painted nails, and I'm snuggling him.
I don't like possums.
They're so good for the environment.
Well, yeah, they are. And I had family who used to eat them back in the day. So.
Oh, you must have some relatives in Louisiana then, because we eat everything.
I grew up in Appalachia.
Where's that?
So, Appalachian Mountains, Western Virginia.
Okay, well.
West Virginia, Kentucky, so it's same kind of
same
stuff.
Thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Do any of your kids, have any of your kids shown any interest in stitching?
I have 2 boys and 2 girls, and my 2 boys have stitched.
Good.
My
I
daughter,
love to hear that.
Yeah, my daughter who's 14 has designed charts for me.
Wonderful.
And she designed one when she was 10 that's really, really powerful, and I'm waiting for the right moment to release it, but it's called Ruby Slippers.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. My youngest son is a big crocheter.
Oh, awesome.
But I know when I was in the 6th grade and wanted to learn how to do this stuff, I was afraid to do it in front of anybody.
Yeah.
And, I'm pretty brash about stitching wherever I am now, no matter what. But even now, as old as I am, there are times when I go, well, maybe I shouldn't bring this out right here. So I'm glad to hear that. Tell us, you got a YouTube presence. You got a web page. I want anybody who hasn't explored or discovered your work to know where to find your things.
Yeah, it's at dirtyannies.com. Dirty with a dash, then annies.com.
Cool. Were you born and raised in Southern Louisiana?
I was, yes.
Tell us about that.
I grew up in Houma, Louisiana, which is pretty much in the swamp, right by the swamp.
Right.
And
I know where you are.
I have a large family, a very large family, and they're all Cajun people. And when I went to college in Natchitoches, Louisiana, which is at the very top of Louisiana, nobody could understand me with my accent. So I had to really work on enunciating. But when I get back around my family, it just Cajun accent comes back. But I love the Cajun people, the history. It's going away, unfortunately, but it's such a wonderful culture. And the food.
I was going to say, are you automatically a good cook if you're Cajun?
I think
or
so.
Did you have to,
no, I think it's just in your blood.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, and I didn't know. Well, I really didn't occur to me until even recently that some people think that's not a good place to be.
Oh.
You know, it was home for me, and the people there I loved, and they loved me, and the culture was wonderful and surrounded me. And I just did a YouTube about different cultural influences. And what's wonderful, I think, about this stuff that we do is it really is worldwide.
Yeah.
And every culture captures it and all that sort of stuff. How have you enjoyed market? Have you had a good...
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's my third market, and I met another talented designer who had never been to market before, and she couldn't get in. So she was so talented.
Nice.
I said, you can share my room. You've got to get your stuff out there.
Yeah.
Her name is Lindsay from Counting Puddles, and she's had a really remarkable market too. So I was really happy to be able to facilitate that and see her big old smile now. She's definitely going to keep coming.
Yeah, I pre-ordered that wedding sampler she had because I love the colors.
I told her, I said, if wedding samplers, Halloween, like you said, birth samplers, there's not enough of that. So
Halloween is a big one for the younger stitchers.
Yes,
too.
And I love Halloween.
I can remember when I started stitching in the 80s, there weren't many designs that I liked.
Right.
And I was pleased kind of after my kids grew up and I got back into it to find that there really were some new things.
So different, and the fabrics now and the threads.
And where are you in Texas?
I'm in a little town called South Lake, Texas. It's right in between Dallas and Fort Worth.
I have some friends that work in the oil industry, and I think they lived at South Lake at one point.
Yeah.
So I know the area well.
We have possums there.
Oh, really? Okay. You're not in the suburbia with...
No, well, it is a suburb, but it's very wooded and lots of acreage, so we get the wildlife.
Well, I think I'm going to let you go back to your shop. I drug Annie out right at the beginning of the day, hoping it wouldn't be too busy. But I'm going to follow her in, and I'm going to walk around and look at some of the designs. Thank you again for coming out and hanging out with me this morning. When I become rich and famous, this video will be more important. But if that never happens, at least we had a nice time chatting and talking about what's going on.
Thank you.
Sure. So I'm just going to walk around. We're going to follow our way back in there and see what we can see. Well, as I promised, I've come back into Annie's studio, and I'm going to walk around and just look at some of these. Now, these are mostly, for the most part, not models that I had in the shop. These are some of her newer things. Oh, look at this Venetian one. It almost looks like a circus scene to me. I love that. I did have these little ornaments in the shop, so some of you will recognize those. Look at, again, some of Annie's creative finishing ideas. That's a quilted piece with cross stitch in the middle of it. And we also mentioned on the interview a new designer. Tell me your name again.
My name's Lindsay Whitney.
Lindsay Whitney
Counting
and
Puddles.
Counting Puddles. I'm going to circle around and look at some of her stuff. And Lindsay, I'm just going to let you wave at the camera. How's
Sounds
that sound? Next year I'll interview you
I
too.
can handle waving.
Okay, say hi,
Hi.
Lindsay. Thank you guys.